This week on EDC Unlocked, it's us, Holme Hadfield. We talk about the start of our entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, I think we were like throwing around like random ideas. It's like, oh, let's do like a snapback brand. Which is actually not a bad idea.
That would have been terrible.
The challenges we faced.
We were both like absolutely broke. I had to move back to my parents like
Yeah,
in
and
our
I'm
30s.
I'm like married by this point.
Yeah,
But-
she's broke as well.
yeah.
My girlfriend was broke. Everyone was fucking broke.
And we answer all of your questions.
What's the one product you've always wanted to make? If you had to pick one Holme and Hadfield product to keep for yourself, what would it be? Hands for feet or feet for hands?
Hey guys, we came up with the idea for EDC Unlocked because we felt there wasn't anything out there that gave the EDC community the opportunity to hear the stories behind big names and brands in the space, whilst also giving them the chance and the opportunity to ask the questions that they've always wanted to ask. For now, this is a limited mini-series, but if you guys want more, then we would love to come back with another series. And so if you do genuinely like the show, please smash a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and please just shoot us a comment with your thoughts on the episode, who you'd want to see on the podcast, on the next episode, and anything else. This 20 seconds of your time really makes such a huge difference, and we really appreciate it. Okay, let's get back into the episode. Welcome back to EDC Unlocked by Holme and Hadfield. I am your host, Phil Hadfield, and today we have on the show us, me and Ian, my partner in crime, the guy who started this business with me. So we're going to answer questions from you guys and tell our story a little bit. How's it going, mate?
Yeah, good to be here, mate.
Ian doesn't normally he normally pushes me out in front of the camera. Today, I've seduced him with a couple of beers.
It don't take too much, mate.
Normally, so for those of you who don't know, I actually am based in Bali, Indonesia, and Ian's based here in the UK, and we don't get a chance to actually meet up that often. And today we had scheduled a bit of a social, have a couple of beers, and then I was like, nah, we need to do a podcast, and he was like, we were combine it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, it's good to be here, mate.
Excited. So I've got a laptop next to me with notes on because we're not that well prepared. But Ian does get a bit sleepy after a couple of beers, so we're capping him at 2 beers. But yeah, so the format today is going to be, I just want to talk us through our story a little bit and give people people know what was going on before Holme and Hadfield, how we came to do Holme and Hadfield. Because I think in the questions, a lot of people were asking about that. The vision, there probably wasn't much of one in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then answer the questions, the random other questions that people have asked. So, you ready?
Yeah, let's dive into
Should we
it, mate.
have a little bit of a clink?
Yeah.
Begin with?
Cheers.
Yeah. We aren't very natural in doing this because we haven't done this before, so we'll see. How do we know each other? You can talk to her. How old were we when we met?
Yeah, so is at school. We were 13.
Would you say we liked each other at the beginning?
No, basically, you came up from the natural school, high school that your middle school fed into.
Yeah.
I was one of me and about 3 other people who came from this really bad middle school. And so I was just desperate to be friends with anyone, basically. So yeah, I just clung on to the group and just went from there.
Yeah, I seem to remember we were basically the naughty kids in our class, and then it just kind of blossomed from there. And then we were friends throughout high school, went to our respective universities, and we always stayed close. We've got another we've got really close group of friends from back home.
Yep.
But then one in particular, our other mate Riley, who we all stay really tight with.
Yep.
And we all were in London for a little bit. And then what were you doing? So you got to London. What was your career at that point?
Yeah, so like I said, went to uni.
Not that I don't know. I'm asking like I don't know. For the benefit of everyone else.
Sure.
So
obviously went to uni, like you said, and at school, you just go through that like process of like, oh, what the hell do I study? Like, so I think it's actually my brother who said to me, oh, why don't you study accountancy?
What a mistake.
He's like, oh, you might earn good money doing that. I was like, yeah, okay, fine, I'll do that. I literally had no idea. So obviously study it. But then when you're at uni, it's like, well, what job do you go into? Like, not a clue. But obviously I studied it. I might as well carry on.
Yeah.
So I actually moved back to Birmingham for a couple of years first, like was doing my professional qualifications, but was just like, oh man, like, I just need to get down to London. There's way more of a nightlife. Like Birmingham at the time just like wasn't happening for me. So I was like, right, moved down to London, got a decent job there.
But someone was there, like there was a big draw. Right?
Like you moved down like a week before or something.
He moved there because of me.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, moved down to London, like going through like professional qualifications and like all the typical sort of like grad type stuff. And yeah, we were obviously like, we played for the same football team in London. We sort of lived in the same sort of area, so obviously like maintain friendship that way.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll cut my story short. I was like, yeah, actually similar to you, although I did a bit of a bullshit degree. I did like a marketing degree, which meant I wanted to get drunk for 3 years, which I did. And then came out of uni and was like, God, what do you want to do? And then, so I did what everyone does in the UK when they don't know what to do. I got a job in recruitment. And yeah, I think both of us throughout our 20s, were like driven by a need to succeed. And we both did really well in our jobs, like climbed the ladder, earned good money, both in management positions. And it was really weird timing because I think, you know, you and I have always been really close, but I think like at that time in our early 30s, maybe we didn't spend like loads of time with each other. But it was really weird because I remember I spoke to you and I was like, I'd had some like health issues, and I just like realised it just wasn't serving me anymore. Like,
do you know what it was? I remember. So I was actually thinking about this ahead of this podcast. I remember like,
I'm halfway through my beer already. But like, sorry, carry on.
I remember like being at work, and it was I think maybe like a Friday afternoon or whatever. I was just totally done with it mentally. And then I remember like going to message my missus, and like I just sent a message like oh, I just can't be bothered with this anymore. But I accidentally sent it to you, and you probably don't remember.
No.
And you were like, oh yeah, I know the feeling, man. And I think at that point I knew that like we were on a similar wavelength as far as like work and maybe doing something slightly different.
Isn't that weird how you can remember that?
Yeah.
Because I remember, because I'd already decided to leave my job, and I think I told you, and that had been going for like some time, and then we went out for some food one day, and you were just like, yeah, you're going to take a sabbatical and you're going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then so we both left our jobs like similar-ish time. We both went traveling because we didn't have a clue what to do, like midlife crisis, all of that kind of stuff. And then we were like traveling, we were in Brazil, and we were just like, I remember we just basically decided that it was pure, like out of pure desperation, really. We were just like, we need to like create a business.
Yeah.
And we don't know what that is, but I cannot go back to the environment that we were in. That was the kind of sentiment.
Yeah, I think we were like throwing around like random ideas. It's like, oh, let's do like a snapback brand. Which is actually not a bad idea.
That would have been terrible.
No, I think it's a decent idea.
No, that was plainly your idea, wasn't it? That was not my idea.
I think I suggested like sliders as well.
Oh my God. For those who don't know, sliders are like flip flops, right?
Yeah, basically.
Terrible.
No,
I swear you've tried to push snapbacks and sliders since we've started Home and Hadfield.
I'm keeping that in my back pocket. I think that's good. Yeah, like we were just throwing down different ideas, but yeah, we knew that it had to be something totally different to what we've been sort of doing for the last 10 years or so.
Yeah. And then, so I had been, just before like we were like getting going in, like before we spoke in Brazil, I'd been away, and I thought of the idea to like start a swimwear brand, and I was like, you know, that'd be a really cool thing to do. You kind of agreed with me. We got back from traveling, and I remember one day, like we were talking about it, and I think you were like, because I still wanted to go traveling for a bit longer, and I remember you were like done, and you were, I think you were now going to work like remotely in your old job whilst you figured your shit out.
Yeah, basically.
And I remember you saying, like, are we going to do this? And I was like, look, I really want to do it, but I'm going to wait till I get back from traveling. Let's do it next year. And I always remember this, and I don't think you do remember this. Like, I put the phone down, and I just had this thought, and it's such a game changer, just like, if I don't do this now, it could be a lost opportunity and we'll never do it again. And I remember just calling you back and I was just like, I'm in, like we'll make it work. And then you don't remember that, do you?
Yeah, no, I think I've got like vague recollections of it, like having that sort of like chat, but yeah, not like.
Literally didn't have a clue what we were doing, what the next step was, any of that kind of stuff. And I went traveling in Asia like after that, and we were like, we'd have.
I remember being so jealous about that. I was like, God, I was like back in my old job effectively, but just on my like working.
You're working remotely though, right?
Yeah, but I was at my parents'.
Yeah.
So I was at my parents'
God.
for like another 6 or 7 months, which was not ideal. but like not paying rent, I guess. But still, you were in like the Philippines.
but it's worth noting and telling everyone that we, like, both of us were like had done like okay, like money wise, and we took this time out and we were both like absolutely broke.
Yeah,
like,
basically.
Like you had to move back to your parents. Like I had to move back to my parents. Like
Yeah,
in
and
our
I'm
30s.
like married by this point.
Yeah.
As well, so I'm with my wife.
Yeah,
Back
she's broke as well.
Yeah.
My girlfriend was broke. Everyone was fucking broke.
So I've like convinced her, basically because you've effectively convinced me, and then I convinced Steph that like
Yeah.
we should follow this path. Her doing like separate things, but kind of just like she was in the exact same situation that like she was like it wasn't fulfilling her what she was doing, and I was like, look, we just have to do something. You just have to be brave and take that leap, and
Yeah.
you just have to go through some rough patches to get where you want to be.
Yeah, it was a rough patch. But so we decided to start the swimwear brand. I mean, no one will know about this. But we got really excited about it, really. And actually, so when I was traveling, I was in Australia 2 months before I was due to come home, and I was watching YouTube one day, and then this ad. I'd obviously been watching a lot of like personal development, business things, and I had this Amazon course get sold.
Plenty
to me.
like videos how to make money online. Or
And I was about to skip ad, and I was just like, I'm going to give him another 10 seconds. And then it was like, I'll give him 10 seconds more. And then it just kept going. And I was like, oh, he's got me hooked in. So I put my email in. He sent me the first video. And before I knew it, I was like half an hour in. I was like, oh shit, like I want to start another company. And like, and then I sent to you. And bear in mind that I'm constantly like saying like crazy things for us to do, and like you're often the voice of reason. I was like expecting you to say, "Mate, we've already started one brand."
we already do like I would say 90% of what these crazy ideas. I'd say we like tend to go along with them. Maybe just the 10%.
Yeah, I don't know about 90. If we did, we'd be out of business. But you just came back and said straight away. You were like, "I get it. This is we should do this." So naively, with not much money and no experience of starting a business, we decided to start 2 brands. So we were like, we don't know what that second brand's going to be, but we're going to continue doing the swimwear thing because we didn't want to let go of that. But yeah, that was like, and we did that. So that was 2019. And for most of 2019, we tried to make like this Amazon business work. We didn't know what that was.
Yep.
And we learned the course, and we got samples for all that swimwear.
Yeah.
We went out to China
Yeah.
and like saw factories to try and get product ideas.
Do you remember? It's worth mentioning. Like, do you remember being in that like? Because we knew loads of other Amazon sellers had like gone to China at the same time because it was for this fair, and they were all staying in like 4 Seasons or whatever it was, just like, and we were in this like shit Airbnb basically, and we got to the
cockroach
thing. It's like cockroaches, like infested.
Yeah.
And we were just saying, oh, I think there's quite a lot of cockroaches. She's like, no, that's normal. Don't worry about it. I was like, oh, cool. This is gonna be a fun week.
Yeah, it was. But I mean, at the time, it's funny how far ahead we thought we were then, and we hadn't even come up with the idea for Holme Hadfield at that point.
Yeah.
And I guess just like this is a good point to say, because we've had a lot of questions about when did you get into EDC? Like, when was your like, where did your obsession with EDC come from? And like, how did you? And like, we've actually been like a little bit like, oh God, this is like really awkward because we're like, if we like tell our true story, are people gonna like lose interest in us? Are they not gonna really like us as much? But we just like be really honest. Like we didn't know what EDC was.
Yeah.
Didn't know what EDC was. We definitely didn't know that being from the UK, we definitely didn't know. Obviously, watch collectors. We've always both liked watches, but not been obsessed.
Yeah.
But like knives, like we didn't think that was a thing. Certainly didn't think coins was a thing. And we certainly didn't think it was like a movement.
Yeah.
And I think it's just really important to like, be completely honest that the reason why we started the business and went on this journey was out of, I guess, human necessity to improve our own situation. And like, really, like if we hadn't have done that, like our mental state of where we were at, we just couldn't have hacked it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think like we both had identified that like whatever our situations at the time weren't like serving us well, and we weren't the people we wanted to be. Like, I think that was creating a lot of unhappiness, being like totally honest. And so we knew that there was more to life than what we were doing, and this was an amazing, what we were presented with was like an amazing opportunity to realize that. And like we sort of just grabbed it with both hands.
And like, I think we'll go on to like, but that's not to say like what we came across in the EDC space and community is so powerful and so like something we like deeply value and cherish, and like being a part of is just so amazing that although I guess we're not like your classic EDCers, like carriers or whatever, I do feel like we like the values of that community we embody, and we just love, and I love our community. And so although we're not knife fanatics, we're not watch fanatics, I do feel like we embody everything about that community. Do you know what I mean?
No, exactly. And I feel like, to be honest, it's something that we didn't know about before, but finding out about it and understanding it has definitely impacted. Well, for me personally, like I feel like I've lent into it, and have kind of like got really into certain brands like Nomad, Orbit Key and stuff like that. And I know you share that as well. But it's just something that we just sort of have discovered along this journey, and we know as like a brand that we just fit within that perfectly, and we just love the kind of vibe within that community, like 100%.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was maybe a wrong point to like clarify that, because we haven't even gotten to the point where we started Holme Hadfield. But I just wanted to, because I wonder whether people will be like, hang on, how did you start the brand if you're into EDC and then you're doing this swimwear stuff? Anyway, going back into the story. So into 2019, and we've been working on this for best part of like 18 months now, like starting a business, and
it literally felt like forever.
And we'd sunk like every penny close to every penny we'd had at that point, like or we must have done
100%. As in personally, absolutely.
We did. And so I remember I had a conversation with my girlfriend, and she credits this. I swear it wasn't her, but she was like saying, I think you should just focus on one. This is what she says. I don't believe. I'm pretty sure it's me. And I then, like, I can't remember what it was. I went round yours and I was just like, mate, we need to can one of these. And for me,
no, I remember it. It was New Year's Eve that you called me up. We just got back from Irish's wedding, and
our friend Irish.
And we just got back from the wedding. It was New Year's Eve, and you were like, look, I want to just throw this out there. Like, I think it's slowing us down, getting to where we want to be. We just need to like be brutally honest that we're not doing a great job, and that's why we're moving slowly. At two different businesses, let's just focus on one and move forward with that one business. And I was like, it's just perfect timing. I'm so glad you brought that up, because like starting the new year afresh, one business. Let's just go like full steam ahead and make that work. And
just so everyone knows how Amazon works, like I feel like a lot of people maybe have a bad view on Amazon in that they think, you sell spatulas or you sell like shitty things and you just slap your logo on it and that's it. For us, it was never about that. We always wanted to use Amazon as a platform and create a brand that could exist off Amazon. And Amazon's just, a platform that we get a lot of eyes from, but we realized at that point, we'd gone through, we won't tell you about all the different product ideas, but they were pretty terrible. And we wasted a lot of money on them. But we were like, at the beginning of that year, we were like, we are going to focus on getting the brand sorted out. And we need to find that first product in a niche where we know we can do well and we can deliver value. And then it was after we made that decision, after months and months of not finding anything that would work, we came across the watch box organizer space and immediately realized that it was just such a tired, old-fashioned, boring. It was filled with such tired, boring, and outdated designs, right?
Yeah.
And we just knew there was like that was there for the taking. Do you remember that?
100%. And I think what it was is that we could see clearly that they were just catering to like a market. There was just like a massive unserved part of that market, and we were like, okay, well, we can just present a brand that is much more relatable to like a massive part of the market. People who want to spend like they spend a lot of money on they're passionate about their accessories. They don't want to like put it in like a $20 box. They want to actually spend a little bit more in a nice display case that's high quality. And we just knew that there was just so much like more opportunity than was currently like in that market at the moment.
Yeah, and something we always talked about was like minimalism and like essentialism. Do you remember? I know it's like not the same thing, but like we talked about that a lot. And I remember us just saying we need to put that into our designs. And when you actually look at that first design and all of our designs since, actually, functionally, our products offer a lot less than a lot of others.
Yeah, like, I remember thinking, oh, this is only going to hold like 4 watches, and there's ones here that hold 24 watches for like a fraction of the price.
Yeah.
But they were just like branded terribly, photographed terribly, but didn't have that kind of wow factor, which we felt our products have.
Well, yeah, and it was that being able to having to like make a decision about which of your favorite watches that you want to display. And that combination of display and organize is something that then we've translated to the rest of our products, which has then just served us so well. And it's more of like an exclusive feeling you feel about our products in you know, not saying, you know, shouting, you know, crowing about our products, but that I feel like that's what it is. It's like exclusivity. Like it's not just this huge storage solution that you just hide away. You can have that actually, it adds to the room. And that was something that we really wanted to do. And when we first launched that on Amazon, there was nothing out there even remotely like it. Do you remember?
No, exactly. And to your point, like people collect different things in life. Like people collect art, people collect like all sorts of collectible things, like, but we just feel like watches, like they are art in themselves. So if you can find a way to display that in your room, people will want to do that. But like small part, like where they want to like show that off, but also it's more to the point. It's like they're proud of these items. They want to display them and they want to feel good about it.
Yeah.
And there was just nothing out there that was doing that.
And so, you know, it sounds like, okay, yeah, we came across, you know, we decided to do this design and then, you know, we launched it and everything went well. That's not how it was at all. Obviously you have a design, you don't know if it's going to work. And also you've got to get someone to make it. And I think go on, get your beer. I know you were looking at it like, we can do whatever we want, Ian. This is our podcast. Get me another one as well because I'm finished mine. God, I probably have had one too many beers now. Hopefully I won't be slurring. So the next step obviously is then to find a factory that can do it. And I think for us, we were really conscious of people wanting like, cheers.
Cheers, mate. Microphones really get in the way, don't they?
Yeah. We were really conscious of wanting to have like a European made or USA made product. And or just not, be honest, not from China. Like we had this thing in our head, and it is a bit of a bad prejudice. You know, I feel that now, having worked with China. And again, I always want to be really transparent from where we make our products from as well, because I'm actually really proud of like the factory that we work with.
Yeah.
We went through such a process. We didn't even look at China, and we had samples from factories from multiple countries, and we got quotes from multiple factories in the UK, USA, and it was either the quality was terrible, and if you're in our Facebook group, you've seen the shitty samples that we got back.
I honestly thought like we're just never gonna find the right supplier. Like this is like a painful process.
Yeah.
Like absolute piece of
And those ones were expensive as well. They weren't, you know, we would need to charge a lot. And then when we went to the ones that were like USA, UK factories, honestly, we'd have had to charge like $1,000 or something for
They wouldn't even respond to you because they're like, we would say, give them like a target idea of what we want to pay for this. And they wouldn't even entertain the conversation.
Yeah. Or the MOQs were like 6,000 units.
Yeah.
And when you've got about $500 to your name, like that's not going to work. So yeah. And then eventually we were just like, I think after about like, I think it was like 3 months of going through this process, we were like, look, we're going to need to like explore the China option. And within a month, I think it was, we found the factory that we work with now, who have been, although there's a lot of difficulties in working with them and, you know, cultural differences, all of that, their standards that they have for quality is like, just because it's China, it doesn't mean that it's bad quality. And in fact, if you look at like all of the huge brands, they have factories in China.
No, exactly.
And we've managed to find a factory that actually delivers the highest quality with our help, but at a price that we were always cognizant of, like being able to deliver a price that people could pay, but it was always a bit above, like, you know, average, but also not like obscene.
Yeah, exactly.
That was what we always wanted to do, right?
We wanted to be fair. Like we wanted to like charge a fair price, but then also the one that represented like value to us, but then we were all like happy with them. Like we were taking advantage of customers or whatever.
So we came up with that idea. I remember we came up with that idea in January. We launched it in October of that year. So it took
Which in itself is way too long.
Yeah. Yeah. If we did that now, we'd be out of business. But we launched it with 500 units, which is just hilarious now thinking about it, because our orders are just huge now compared. And we sold out like within 1 month.
I honestly remember thinking, right, yeah, this will cover us 3 months, easy.
Yeah.
And then it was about 3 weeks.
But how, for those of you who haven't been through this, when you see, because we have like an app, it's been addictive really. We have an app that tells you when you've done a sale. And when that first sale came in, I just couldn't believe. I woke up we'd done 5 sales on our first day, and I just could not believe it. I thought they had to like, have we connected the wrong app or something? Like this is crazy. People are actually buying what we have done, and it was just such, for all those years and all that time that we'd put into it, it was just such like reinforcement that we were doing the right thing.
Yeah, definitely.
And then so at the beginning, we were debating whether to start on Instagram or not, and we said, because we wanted to go kind of like all in and on Amazon and just make sure that was successful. But then we decided to do Instagram, and we started to send our products out to different influencers, some not right for the brand at all. And then we happened to send a few out to people in the EDC space, and they posted about it, and Pete McKinnon saw it and he bought one. And then
he was just like a customer.
Like, he was a customer. And what was hilarious was I was customer service at that point, pretending to be customer service behind the thing, and he had an issue with getting it to him.
Oh right.
And I was dealing with him, and I was like, because this is gonna be embarrassing now to everyone in the EDC space. I knew of Pete McKinnon, but not because he was in the EDC space. He does like sick travel pictures and stuff as well. So I'd heard of him, but I was like, I know that name. And I looked him up. I was like, Ian, this guy is like big time. And I was talking to him, and we were going back and forward, and he was like, I'm going to include this in my gift guide. And I was like, we don't have any stock. We don't have any stock left. I was like, but we're like, okay, well, he was like, maybe you could do like a pre-order.
Sure.
And so then we were like, okay,
how
genius.
The fuck do we do that?
Genius. Yeah, how did we do that? So we did a pre-order, and he posted it, and it was great. Like for us at that time, him posting that, and it was, I
think what it was is that like I remember getting up, waking up, and knowing that video was going out, but at no point do I know like where in his like top 10 or whatever products we were going to be.
Yeah.
And I remember just like watching it, going, okay, thinking, oh, I'll be happy with number 10. Yeah. And I was like, oh, we're not number 10. Oh, maybe we're number 9.
Yeah.
And every single one, I was like, got to number 2. I was like, holy shit.
He's missed us out. He's lied to us.
Bastard. And I'm like, fuck, we're number 1. That's like insane. And then, yeah, just things just went.
Hey, Phil here, co-founder of Holme Hadfield. Just interrupting the episode to let you know about something truly special to us. Community is a huge part of everything we do, and so we've created a Facebook group where we share our newest ideas and get feedback from you, our customers, to make sure we're developing products that you actually want to see. In return, we give away free products regularly. We're probably giving away a free product right now, and huge discounts of up to 35% on all product launches. Whilst this began as something fairly simple, it's grown into an amazing community of like-minded people. And so if this sounds like something you could be interested in, I've left the link to the group below in the description. So come join us. It's free, and you never know, you might enjoy yourself. Okay, back to what you came here for, the episode.
Pretty nuts from like a sales perspective, because we were just getting like tons of pre-orders, and that was just an amazing feeling.
Yeah.
But then I remember we were meeting up like later that day to sort of just, I think it was around like Christmas time, and we were just sort of having like a catch up, and you were just like, Ian, there's just so much more in this space than either of us realise.
Yeah.
Like, and we have to lean into this.
Yeah.
And I think I was always like, we're at the moment we're kind of just selling to everyone.
Yeah.
We need to be more focused on who we're like speaking to.
Yeah.
As a customer, and this was just the unlock to just so many things. Like,
Yeah.
so even this, forget about the sales, even just that was the most valuable thing that we got from it.
Well, it's just I think when you launch a product, it's ideal that you know what your next product's going to be, and we didn't have a clue. And then we realised there was this, EDC space, and this was our first exposure to it in 2020. Sorry, guys. And we were like, wow, this is like a community that needs to be served. And also, it's a community that's not being served in the way that we can serve it. Because then that was when we were like, and actually with the help of a customer who emailed and said, have you ever thought of doing something with like what you're doing with watches with knives?
Yeah, shout out that guy.
Yeah. Oh, God. I can't remember his name now. That's going to be really annoying. Sorry if you are watching or listening to this. But we did give him a free knife deck. Off the back of it,
nice.
And he was like, have you ever done, why don't you just do the same thing? I was like, wow, that's like genius. And that was when we were like, okay, there is this brand here, because we had other product ideas to come after the watch deck. And then it was like, okay, no, we can do all of these other things. And I guess to like, cut a long story short, that kind of like shaped that next year, didn't it? We were like, okay, we're going to go heavier into the watch space, heavier into the knife space. We're going to then look at coins, and then that's led us into like looking at devices. And I guess for us, and everyday carry is across those 3 areas, really, isn't it? It's EDC. Well, watches is kind of EDC, but I do see watches as kind of like it's almost its own thing. But watches, EDC, and tech. Or devices, or however we say it. And I really feel like you get almost three different types of people in that space, but also they all kind of overlap as well. It's kind of fascinating to look at the kind of different people, but they're all, I don't know, they all live to the same kind of values and stuff like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. Like, they're all like just good people, and have just contributed so much to the brand in their own rights. But yeah, like you definitely get like desk setups, for example, is like a big part of it. And that of all those areas, that's the one I've probably sort of got obsessive about for myself personally.
Yeah, you're probably more of a desk setup EDC kind of guy. Although that must be a little bit weird, because I'm a desk setup EDC kind of person. Like, I know someone in the knife community would be like, that's not proper EDC. But I don't know. For us, it's kind of like, that's more like, I guess, nomad, orbit key kind of area. Anyway, we're going a bit off subject. In terms of like the Instagram side of things, we then like started to work with like more and more people, like grew that out more. Do you feel like that was like a good, like in retrospect, do you feel like that was a really good decision for the business or we should have like gone harder on like something else, like, I don't know, growing like Shopify or something like that?
Yes, I think we've always had the idea that we wanted to be like a genuine brand, and like we're part of like Amazon seller networks who aren't typically like in a quote unquote brand. They're just, okay, well, they optimize themselves well for Amazon, and okay, yeah, they might have an Instagram, but they don't lean into that. They don't like try and build a community. They don't try and build like a presence off of Amazon. They just focus purely on that. So I feel like what you're saying is that us leaning into Instagram was just part of that like branding exercise that we wanted to have. We wanted to create something meaningful and tangible that we could like, just have something that like we were bringing people as a part of. So yeah, I think that was an important part of it. And the more people we worked with, the more amazing content we got, and the more we just got to understand about the market.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna, because I think that brings us like, in terms of our story. I mean, obviously it doesn't take us to like kind of present day, but I mean, in terms of our story, would you say there's anything else before we go into like the questions that you would like?
No, I think like there's so many exciting things that we're like looking at doing at the moment in terms of the direction of the brand, and we're super excited to share all that. But I think in terms of brand story, yeah, I think that gives a good picture.
Cool. And obviously, if anyone's got any further questions on that, and I guess, yeah, we were like, honestly, we were really debating whether to do this episode, because we were like, we're kind of being a little bit vulnerable in terms of like admitting that we're not that we were certainly I mean, I certainly haven't lied. If you're in our Facebook group, I asked some pretty stupid questions around knives and stuff. So you must realize that I'm not a knife guy or whatever, but like I have such like amazing connection with the guys in our Facebook group and our community, because they're just good people. Like, and I'm gonna break like structure that I've got here, and I'm going to ask about the community, because so we built the Instagram, and like I loved, so at the time I was running our Instagram. I don't do that anymore, thank God, because it's a task in itself. But like I used to really enjoy like interacting with customers in the inbox, and I always just knew they were always just good people. They always just got it. They were like such, like if there was something wrong with their order, there was always just nice people.
Oh, they were so supportive. Like I see that, and I'm not like super attached to our Instagram, but yeah, it's very, very supportive, always super complimentary of like what we're doing or what we're trying to achieve with the brand. So yeah, no, I've loved that part of it, getting to know our customer 100%.
And then we decided to, because someone said, like, I think the question is around community, like why'd you do it, basically? Because I guess the thing is with community, I'm trying to find the exact question. Something like what drives you to work with your community more. Like, we kind of, like with a lot of Holme Hadfield actually, and we were talking about it earlier, we've been a little bit more reactive than proactive. Like, we built Instagram not thinking, oh, we're going to have this Facebook, we're going to do these surveys, we're going to do a podcast.
Yeah.
It was more like, oh, wow, these are cool people who give us really cool feedback. Let's get more of that. And I remember one day just saying to you, why don't we just start a Facebook group and we'll call it a feedback club, and we just ask them for ideas? Because we used to pay money to this website. It's called Pickfu, where you'll test colours of products. Because we were going to launch the watch deck in oak. We were going to launch it in oak.
Oh, what, originally?
Originally.
Yeah.
And then we were like, let's test it. And then we were like, no, Americans like walnut. They definitely like walnut, and they definitely don't like oak. It's certainly not their preference. So we used to pay a lot of money for that, but these guys weren't our audience. They were just like random people in America, because we were testing that.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, well, let's lean into that a little bit more. And then it was like, so we've got a Facebook group, and I think there was like 20 or 30 members. They were really cool. If anyone's listening to this, I like really appreciate you guys. You really helped us make some like really cool decisions at the beginning.
Yeah.
They were like they were amazing. They were like the OGs of our like Facebook group. So shout out to you guys if you're listening. And then last year, around like mid 2022, we decided to create like a rewards club where we gave people discounts, but also we it would help us upon launch. We'd be able to launch products in a better way. We'd create a lot more like what's the word, like buzz around launches.
Yeah, definitely.
But then that quickly became a feedback group in itself, and then we realised we've almost got 2,000 members in there.
Well, what was amazing, I remember you like saying, like, I remember us like talking about it, and like we would, I think it was like a post-launch thing, and like everyone was sharing pictures of their EDC and their setup.
Yeah.
This is the best thing ever. Like,
Yeah.
because for us, I think that like, okay, we're not like super hardcore EDC. However, what I think we are as like brand owners is that I think we just are so passionate about creating products that people love. And I think that's what fulfills us. That's what fuels us on. That's why we develop new products all the time. So to that point about the question, like I think that's 100% what it's about. It's so we can understand our community better, so we can serve them better.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing. So if you're not in the Facebook group, come and join it. But also we're doing these product surveys this year so we just made a commitment that it's so powerful to be able to ask our audience what they want, because we have an idea of what they want, and quite a lot of the time we're wrong. So right now if you're in our community, if you're in the Facebook group, or you're part of the surveys, you'll know that we ask you about absolutely everything. We asked you whether you wanted to see this. We asked you whether you wanted us to do this episode. Hopefully you still agree that it was a good idea now. Maybe not. And so, I think the community will just continue to be a bigger and bigger part of what we do. And I think it's been central in, I don't want to say success, but in our continued growth.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah.
Right, I'll move things along because I feel like these beers have meant that I've like gone a little bit slower than I was expecting. I'm meant to be like the moderator, and I'm clearly just waffling on. Product. Let's try and keep these like fairly short because there's a lot of bloody questions. So we got questions for our audience, like to our previous point.
Sweet.
So what's the one product you've always wanted to make?
What, as in from our current products, or
No. Like now, like what if it's a product that you want to make and you want to deliver, like personally, what would that be? Because we also have differing opinions on that. Ian always wants to do one thing, and I always want to do another.
Then we just do what you want to do. At the moment, I'm really, really excited about doing a watch winder.
So am I, though. Actually, if we can do that, and I've spoken about it in an update that I don't know which one we're going to be releasing first. It'll probably be this. Like that's the one I'd really want to do and do it well. Yeah, but it's important that we do that well.
Yeah, and then also something I think off the back of last year, like bringing in wireless technology into our products is something that really want to try and it's a nut we want to crack for sure.
Yeah. There's a lot of complications that come with that, particularly when you don't have a background in these things. And like, we don't want to put our name to something if it's not sick, basically.
Exactly.
Where do the inspirations come from most of our designs?
Good question.
I think for me, kind of our inspiration comes from our original design. We take a lot of inspiration from that.
Yeah, let's take this but let's do this to it.
Yeah, and we want to apply it across like all of our products. And that's kind of set the tone for the rest of.
Yeah, and if you take that approach, it'll always be consistent within your brand, and that's the most important thing as far as like we're concerned. So
out of all of our products, which is your favourite, and which one did you? These are two questions, I guess. Which one did you enjoy designing the most?
Favourite is without a shadow of a doubt, the watch deck.
Okay. But is that what you personally?
It's
it's just the OG.
Your first love.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't be here without the watch deck. I'll be back on the phones and recruiting.
The watch deck. What a guy. In terms of enjoyed designing, probably the hub that like was the most challenging. So probably most painful.
Yeah, I wouldn't say enjoy.
Yeah, but I don't know, like a good challenge.
I actually feel like I enjoyed the knife deck the most.
Yeah, maybe.
Like our first like deviation away from like it was doing something
maybe
from that original. Because I was a little bit worried about, have we just been really lucky with this first product? Like, how are we going to be able to follow this up? So I think that's probably but my favourite product, like for me personally, if I had to own a product, would be the Weekender. Like, even though it's underrated, Underrated. I love the Weekender.
No, it's a good product. It's a good product.
So, what drives you to innovate, and how did you decide on craft display cases? I think we've already touched about a lot of that. So, do you think? Yeah, I feel like there's quite a lot of questions. So, what goes into your thoughts or consideration when producing a product before getting any public feedback? I mean, I think for this, it's like we kind of don't even really. We have like an initial concept, I guess. So I guess what is our thoughts before because we go up to public pretty quickly.
In terms of like, I don't fully understand the question.
So let me just look at it again. So when because Ian and I, we have calls and we're like, okay, we want to do a fixed knife display case. How do we want this to look? What goes into that thinking, I guess?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think like for us, is it consistent with our product range? Does it fit? Does it make sense? For me, like branding is all about like consistency across visually, across how you act as a business. So I think like, does it fit? Like that's probably the most important thing. Does it look like something that our customer would want to buy?
Yeah.
Those are the sorts of things. You got to try and get into the mindset of the customer and what they like, and understanding your customer helps you do that. So yeah, those are probably the most important things to think about. There's other things we think about, like, okay, well, is it different to what's out there in the market? That's probably a big part of it as well, differentiation.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we won't do another like Me Too product.
No, exactly. It has to be unique. It has to like be relevant, and yeah, 100%.
Cool, good answer. I won't add anything to that.
Sweet.
What has been the most difficult product to complete, and why was it so challenging? I think we kind of already touched about that, the hub and the sidekick.
Yeah.
Purely because I talked about this when I did my update episode. We nail display cases, the wooden element of that, but when it comes to any functionality, which is why we're like hesitant to go all guns blazing on the watch winder and the wireless charging, is because that has functionality that we don't have a specialism in, and we didn't, being completely honest, we didn't deliver a product that was at the same level as the others, just because that was like we could just leave it as it is. It's still good enough, but it's not excellent.
No,
right
it's got
now.
the lowest like reviews of all our products in terms of the lowest like star rating. Which, okay, and actually in that market, it's still good. Yeah. It's just not where we want to position ourselves.
Yeah, and just for the record, we've pretty much sorted that issue now, and we're doing it with the help of people in the Facebook group. Like we're confident that we've sorted that issue, is with the screws and the plastic part that you fix your phone into and stuff. And but I think the important thing is that we're willing to admit it, and also just with the help of our community, solve the issue, and also solve the issue with their particular product as well. Will Holme Hadfield diversify products? It's an interesting question, that is. I mean, it depends what they mean. Like, are we going to just go and launch a coin? No. Like, are we going to go and launch our own knife? No. I feel like we need to focus on what we're good at, in the niches that we know. I do feel like there's room to diversify slightly out of that, but ultimately we want to keep creating products that people want. And if people come to us, if everyone in the group says, we want you to create a knife, we'll probably try to do it. But in general, they're asking us for other things that are within our range of genius, but range of capability.
Yeah.
Right?
No, exactly. And I think like it just has to fit in within the brand. That's like, I'm sort of like broken record, but like that is just so important. So I think like I just feel like diversification for us is just ultimately a distraction and prevents our ability to do a good job in what we do.
Yeah, and I think there's ways of diversifying without going completely left field.
Yeah, exactly.
Completely weird.
Yeah.
Looking at your story, you started in the watch world, then you went into the knife world. What's the differences between the two worlds? And have you ever thought of a pen box? We have thought of pen boxes, actually, but I don't think it's top of the priority list. I don't think the demand is quite there.
That's
it's a
niche.
bit niche. And the differences between the two worlds, there's differences between the two customers. I have to say, I do feel like watch people maybe a little bit more particular, maybe.
Yeah.
And
I
knife
can see
people are maybe a little bit more. I don't know.
I think people who are like super obsessive about knives, I think like our knife products are like perfect for them. I think people are often, if they're like super obsessive about watches, sometimes at first glance they're like a little bit put off by the actual positioning of the watches. Like, oh, actually, I like it in a certain way. So I feel like there is differences from that perspective.
The watch snobs.
Well,
I often think that those are the guys that have got like vintage watches that have spent like $20,000 on their or $10,000 on their watches, and we're probably not their watch case. Like they probably want to spend $1,000 on their watch case. I still think we could be. I still think what we have then done, we've launched additional like the padding, like the mate watch deck mate and stuff that helps them.
Yeah, no, mate, don't get me wrong. It's the perfect product.
We're not biased at all. I actually answered that question on my update. Which of your own stuff, do you use at home, and what is inside of it? So, there's a bit. I'm gonna have a bit of a confession.
You don't even have a home.
So I'm a bit of a nomad. I live in Bali in Indonesia. Like this comes of like a big part of like our previous story. I guess was in London for quite a long time, really unhappy and really wanted to move out of like the grey and the cold of the UK. But I've been in the Bali and kind of traveling around a lot. And because of that, like I've never got like a fixed home. I mean, I do like for months at a time, and we have a place in London that we can go back to. But in general, I don't touch a lot of our products. Like Ian is the guy that approves everything. Really, he's got so many of our products.
Yeah.
Like, have you got every single one of our products in your house?
Yeah. I got like a full-on sample room. Like I have like guests come to stay, just like surrounded by all these products. It's pretty weird.
Which one do you use the most?
So in the office, there's the watch deck. With the leather padding.
Okay. And so you use it all for?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. What have you got inside there?
So like to be honest, like I'm not like super into watches. Like I've got like 4 watches that I like.
Okay.
So I've just got like.
No, but what have you got in the drawer?
Oh, in the drawer.
Yeah.
All right, just like a wallet and like
boring.
and I've actually got 2 Wesen knives.
Oh, that's not boring.
Shout out Wesen.
All right. Yeah.
I don't know.
Wow, you're loads more EDC than I am.
But to be fair, they actually gave them me. I actually didn't buy them. They just gave them as like a gift because they're nice people.
Cool.
So that's where I keep them.
And then you've got the hub as well. I think you use the hub, right?
Yes. Yeah. So that in my bedside table is my hub.
Okay. Cool. Right. We're going on to a little bit more like vision, general things like. Yeah, where? Well, actually, someone's asked here, what is your connection to Sheridan, Wyoming? So we don't have any connection to there, other than the fact that we registered a business in America.
Yeah, someone told, like an accountant told us.
Yeah,
to register.
So we have an address there. We've never been there. I can't commit that we'll ever go there. There's a good chance we won't ever go.
I think we should.
Okay, if you live in Wyoming and you're watching this, comment. And we're going to come and we're going to have a beer with you. That's a promise. Where do we see the brand in 5 years? This is a difficult question.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many things that we could talk about here. We talk about this a lot. I think in an ideal world, like, this would be in every single country where we have, like I'd love to have a huge presence in Australia.
Yep.
I'd love to have a huge presence in like Singapore, Asia. I'd love to have a huge presence in Europe, Canada. I would love to be in all of the the big retail stores, all that kind of stuff. I'd also love for us to still be heavily involved on the creative side and product development side, and at a high level. But I would love to be out of the trenches on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah,
because we're in the trenches, bro.
For sure.
We're not as much as we were. Like, I'm not doing customer service with Pete McKinnon anymore. But shout out Pete McKinnon if you're watching. You probably won't be.
Yeah, like there's been like a massive transition from when we started 100% to what we do day to day now, and that's like testament to the people who've like joined the team as part of this journey. And like I feel like we've hired like that's probably like one of the biggest aspects of the growth of the business is the hiring that we've done. It's just it's been a massive game changer. But yeah, to add to what you said about where we see the business in 5 years, it is really difficult. I agree with what you're saying. Like, if we can just continue the global expansion, I'll be super happy. But then like channel expansion as well. Yeah,
because we really talked about like, and I talked about it again in this episode I did. Like we just feel really guilty, particularly being from the UK, that we can't like serve the people in the UK and Europe and around the world as well as we would like to. So yeah, that's something I'd really like us to be able to do. But yeah, it's difficult because we couldn't have pictured that we'd be here right now like 2 years ago. So
yeah, I know how like, well, I'll say like upset, probably the wrong word, but like stressed out you might get when someone's like, I'm in like Germany, what the fuck can I buy your products? Like, this is like, because there'll be some random import issue that we can't get it to Germany.
So frustrating.
Exactly. So yeah, like that global expansion will just help us serve our community better, for sure.
What has been the most difficult part of this journey?
Where do I start? No. Yeah.
Do you want me to?
Yeah, go for it.
I think for me, so we haven't talked about this, but like juggling, so we both basically had to, we haven't talked about this in our story, we both basically had to go back to our old careers and negotiate a way to work remotely and freelance. I was freelance. You were you were working like half time and then full time. But we were both basically had full-time jobs but working remotely and doing the business, and it wasn't until February of 2022, so last year, so just over a year ago, that we went full-time. And I think having to balance that, and I personally, I was in a commission only, I had to do it commission only, and so I had months where I didn't do like a deal in recruitment.
Well, you were in this like really tricky kind of like trade-off where it was like I could like lean into what I'm doing now and earn more money now with your job.
Yeah.
But then the sacrifice there is like, well, that's taking away from the business and like the growth, which is a longer term play. So yeah, you were in that constant trade-off, whereas I think I had, I guess, a good situation in the way that I just had to like log on, clock my hours, log off, do my work on the business. So I was like, I was getting up at like 5 a.m, starting like my day job at 6 through to lunch, go to the gym, come back, and then work on the business. And I think that kind of like, because we had different schedules, that was probably like quite challenging for a while.
Yeah.
But the long hours was probably the worst part.
Yeah, and then obviously just like funding. Like
from there is a large period where you're sort of, because when you do take that leap to be this has got to pay the bills now, like that can be pretty stressful.
Yeah, and you just had a kid, so we went full time, and Ian had just had a baby. Like I've got so much respect that you're still willing to make that. I was worried that one day you were just going to call me and say, mate, I can't do this. I've got a baby. And luckily you were so far in that there's no way going back by that point. But yeah, so I'd probably say that was the most difficult point. Biggest challenges for entrepreneurs in 2023 and forward. Do you want to field this one?
So I would say if we were starting this business now, then it'd be a really difficult market to enter, just because I think throughout COVID that so many people transitioned their careers and perhaps had that same period of reflection where they're like, oh, this isn't serving me what I'm doing. I'm going to do something different. So I think a lot of people leaned into e-com like massively. And there's fortunately we're kind of like a few years ahead of that curve. So yeah, it is a harder market to get into right now, just because of so many more people have like leaned into it.
say that though, when we got into Amazon, everyone was like, "Oh, it's harder now," and like I just think there's always going to be that. For me, it's just like I'd actually say you probably need like more money now, don't you, to start probably. But because of that, there's a higher barrier to entry, and so if you do have some money to start, because like we got sold like you could start with like $1,000. That is not true.
Absolute liberty.
Yeah.
Saying that. Like it's just not true at all.
Yeah.
So you do have to. So I would say you have to work harder than. Yeah. So if we were to have started like this business 5 years earlier, it would have been easier. But I don't know if it would be the same business as it was today, because that's just human nature, isn't it? So yeah, it makes you work harder, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, I guess.
What customer stories have brought you the most joy?
That might be one for
Might be one for me. I think customers. I just love. Every now and then when I'm having a bad day, I'll go and look at our reviews.
It's our share your wins. Like
we have a Slack channel, Share Your Wins, and our customer service like team are just amazing. They're like, that was something we always said that we wanted to be like big on customer service, and always like admitting when we're wrong and making it right, even if we made no money on that transaction. Quite often we'll lose money on a lot of transactions, so that actually almost people prefer having an issue with one of our products, because we'll refund them, we'll give them as much as we can. But I think it's when I just see, well, there's two things. In the Facebook group, I love it when people share like crazy, like one of the guys shared like a Christmas tree.
Is probably the best.
Yeah, but then there's another guy like James Brock. He's listening. I know he will be shouting out, like he was saying, "Stop making stuff in capital letters." People talking about how we're like creating divorces, like just funny stuff. Like we're like ultimately like we just like to have fun, don't we? We're sarcastic. We like to have fun, and I love seeing that. And then just customer stories. I love it when something goes wrong. Well, I don't love it when something goes wrong, but I love it when something goes wrong and we make it right. And people talk about that. I think that's really important. That was the commitment we made
100%.
at the beginning. So yeah, right. That's pretty much it from like all of like the big questions. I've just got some quick fire questions for you now.
Okay.
Not for me, and you've got to like answer really quick because we don't have a lot of time. We're probably already over. So, quick fire.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah, go on, hit me.
Holme or Hadfield?
Home.
Bastard. If you had to pick one Holme and Hadfield product to keep for yourself, what would it be?
Watched it.
3 favourite EDC or tech brands?
Nomad, 100%. Wesen. Orbit Key.
Watches or knives?
Ooh. Do you know what? I'm going to say knives.
Nice. Okay. Hands for feet or feet for hands?
Hands for feet.
Interesting.
You can't have feet for hands.
I was going to ask a very different question, but I won't do that. I think it's not right for public consumption. Vintage watch or Apple Watch?
Vintage.
Nice. I would have thought you said Apple, really. I would have thought you'd gone for Apple.
Yeah.
What's in your pockets right now?
Oh, well, I literally just emptied them before.
Oh, you had an Orbit Key in there though, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah, you had some quite cool things in your pockets. I quite often have tissue in my pockets. That's about it.
iPhone.
Oh yeah, and you've got like a little Nomad. That's Nomad, isn't it?
Nomad AirPods.
Yeah.
Shout out Nomad. And then this is a Orbit Key Nomad collab.
Nice.
Key.
2 brands of which we are courting to do collabs with us.
Yeah.
Most important question of the day. Why isn't it Hadfield and Holme?
Sounds shit, doesn't it?
The annoying thing is, I don't know if you do you remember that I actually came up with the name?
Yeah.
And it was like I like did it through gritted teeth. I think we should call it Holme and Hadfield. But just so everyone knows, I'm Phil Hadfield, is in Holme. That's it though. Oh, I say that's it. We think we've gone well over time.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
That was class. No, I loved it.
Yeah. Well, let's have a little. 2 beers in. We're now going to meet our friends and have some more beers.
Great.
So to everyone listening, like, really appreciate you. Oh my God. I might need to have a water after this. Really appreciate you tuning in. Would love to hear your comments on this. Is this something you want to see more of? Have you got any questions? Are you absolutely annoyed with us that we're not, legacy EDC people? Hopefully not. But ask us any questions in the comments and reach out to us. We really hope you continue to support us. Ian, anything to say? Anything to add?
No, just want to say thank you for all the support. You guys are absolutely amazing. And if you've stayed to the end, then yeah, shout out you guys. Yeah, fair play. Love it.
Yeah, have a beer on us. Cheers, guys.
Bosh. That was class.
That was decent.